Hi friends, it's Sarah from Ruffles and Rain Boots. I am going to make this little guy, and if you'd like to make him, stick around. As always, please like this video so I know you're here crafting. So this is who we're making today. The pattern is the treasure gnome or the hook hat pattern. It is so cute. Look at him. Looks a little windswept for winter. So I am going to show how I sew this. It's very quick. However, you can hot glue this pattern. I have already shared how to assemble this with hot glue. So if you are brand new to sewing, don't worry, you're just going in a straight line. So you're going to put the material underneath your presser foot. You're going to account for a quarter, or in this case 1/8 inch. You're going to go 3 stitches forward, then reverse on your sewing machine at least 3 stitches. Every time you turn, have your hand on the presser foot to make sure you can lift up the presser foot, keeping the needle in place when you're going around curves. That's it. You can see I'm going to go a little faster on the big long straight parts, but it's pretty much the same thing over and over. You can see me, this is sped up, but you can see me turning. Now I did have a question on the corner piece. You can actually round it like I'm doing, which is stitch, stitch, turn, stitch, stitch, turn, very, very light curve, or you can straight up put it in a corner, and that's just going to depend on what you would like. However, I will say the curve is a little bit easier. You can go in, and if you've messed up your seam after the fact, hey, don't worry, as long as you caught all the fabric in there, you can trim the outside edge of your seam, so you're fine. Once you have the hat, which in my opinion, is easy, you are only making a straight stitch. See this? You're only making a straight stitch. We're not doing anything. We're not changing the tension. We're not doing anything like fancy that you'd have to watch a sewing channel for. We're sticking some thread in. I'm using white so you can see it, but you would actually use whatever color matches your project the best. And by the way, if you don't have that, just after the fact, get a marker and color it. That's what I do. All right, you can see I'm fast forwarding that so you can see it's kind of waving the edge. You can do that or you cannot do that. It's by adjusting the tension. Again, beginner, man, just go with the flow. When you finish, always remember to reverse your stitches so you can lock it in place. Okay? And you can see you've got a nice little edge here. Now, I've already sewn up the body. It's a straight stitch on the open side. You're going to pin it. Pin the body base in place, and then you're going to scrunch up that fabric all the way on the left hand side. Line up your presser foot and needle to your material, and that's the only part you're really concerned with. Again, you're starting 3 or 5 stitches forward, reversing 3 or 5 stitches to lock it in place, and then just going around. Now you'll see me pick up this entire piece and move it out of the way because we don't want our presser foot to get too high. We don't want it all bunched up. And then look, you just cut off your little stringy poos and then you're ready to assemble. So you just made these 3 pieces, a body, a hat, and a brim. You're going to need some faux fur, whatever kind, color, whatever you want, some decorations, and then I also have poly pellets, which I use for weight, and poly fill, which I use for stuffing. I also have a funnel because I'm a klutz. So there's that. So I forgot to cut these off, so I'm just going to cut my stitches off so they don't hang down in my project. And I'm going to flip the body right side out, taking care to roll this bottom seam in my fingers. That's going to help it stand up on its own, sit flat, be nice on this edge. And yeah, I do violently bang it on the table. So I'm also going to make sure I get in here and bump out the booty before I add in any weight, because we want that weight to sort of swash out. That's not the right word. Settle out. And so we're just putting a cup of weight in there. It's not a lot. Then I'm going to take small rips of poly fiber. So this is poly fill from the craft store. I actually buy it in bulk online. But I'm pressing it out and around outside of the poly pellets. The reason I'm doing that is because this fleece is super thin because it's super cheap, but it's super soft, and I wanted to use it for my little winter wind-swept gnome. So I am not going to fill this all the way. Per the pattern, you can tell we're going to go a little bit away from the top because the top is going to add some structure when we seal it up. You are more than welcome to sew this. However, I'm going to use hot glue because I made the pattern in a can. So I'm just going to close this little piece up here And then I'm going to glue down the whole thing. I will put glue in this portion here. Don't get your digits, like that. And then I'm going to glue down. So I'm going to flip this down. You don't need a big flip. You just need the part you didn't stuff. And I'm going to hold that, which I'm going to edit out. Once you have it, you can see, bam, you've got, I'm going to keep the sound effects to a minimum. Whew, it's feeling feisty. So this one right here, we're just going to flip it out. So you can use pliers, you can use hemostats, or you can do like me and break a fingernail and use scissors. But you're not going to poke it out if you go slow. Use the rounded side on the outer edge here. Now see, I don't know if you saw that, but you saw that white thread when I moved it. That is what I'm talking about. You always try and color coordinate, because whilst the stitches are mostly hidden, if you expand that fabric, you can actually see those stitches a little better. I'm going to color mine in with a blue marker, but you do you. I then flipped out the brim, and one thing about the brim is if you are sewing, you can actually add a stitch line to the brim outer edge, and it will look like this. So you see this? It just gives it a little bit more structure. If you're gluing, you can actually even add in wire after the fact. You can do it here with sewing as well. You can even add cardboard and just cut the hole in the center to match, and you're golden. I will overstuff the hook of this hat only because if I'm shipping it, if it's ever going to lose its form, it's going to be right there. So I'm going to overstuff that a little bit, making sure when I squeeze on it, it's going to bounce back to its original shape and really hold things pretty stiff. There we go. And then I'm just going to throw a couple of little tufts into the hat cone. I always stuff too much, and you'll see. It's okay. At least, you know, I'm predictable in that. I'm going to put the brim right through the cone hook of the hat onto the cone, and then pull these two sets of little triangle tabs away from each other and pull the hat down. Now here, I can already tell I'm going to need to take some stuffing out. Look at that. It doesn't sit right? So you'll know it sits right. Let me get this shape. It's pretty easy to tell. So we're going to pull it down into place. Without moving the brim, you can see that that's nice and smooth. You don't need any more stuffing anywhere. And then you can glue down this little band at the bottom. Now, I was asked about arms. You can absolutely add arms. You can absolutely add a beard all the way around. Like, this is just a guide. You don't have to do it the same way that I do. It's just a little bit of inspiration. If you buy a pattern from me, you can be guaranteed I'm going to make a whole lot of inspirational pieces for you, just to give you an idea on ways to use the pattern. All right, so I'm going to be pulling the brim down in the back and pulling the front up for the face. And so I measure with my fingers, but you can like really get out a tape measure. Look at that. It's going to be just under 4 inches. And one of my sides was cut by whoever gave me this fur. And so I'm not going to use the very edge on the right side, but I'm just using an X-Acto knife, cutting a U shape, 4 inches wide, 3 inches high. And then I'm going to glue this part down because I don't want to see the edge underneath the gnome's face, or underneath the gnome brim in front. Oh my goodness, underneath the hat brim in front. Ooh, you think this was my first day on the planet. Okay, so copious amounts of hot glue. I'm going to prop this little guy up and then just plop on that beard, and then I'm going to hold it, which I'm going to edit out. At that point, I'm going to go ahead and just glue down this entire hat. So I have shared how you can glue down the little tabs and not the hat brim, but this one I'm just yanking that hat brim backwards so this one pops forward. And I think I like the look of that, guys, so now we can continue. So I'm going to now I'm going to glue down the top tabs, and the reason we're doing that is to keep that hat in place. Okay, so we're just going to go around. We're doing just the bottom line edge of that triangle because when it dries, we're going to cut off those little pieces. I'm going to split the fur to the fabric backing, add some hot glue, and pop on a little wood ball for a nose. You can use a half back or a cabochon. You can use an ornament. You can use a clay nose, whatever you'd like. And now I'm going to thwack off all of these little... Thwack means hit. I mean cut. Cut off. And then I'm just going to give him a little face and see what his personality is. and I wasn't sure how I was going to decorate him, so I was just kind of getting an idea there. And then I have these, I got at Hobby, or maybe at Hobby Lobby, I don't know, on clearance, and I love them, but they literally match nothing. So I think I'm going to go with these snowflake buttons I've had for, I don't know, a decade or so, probably 12 years. And then I'm just going to put a little tiny piece of grosgrain ribbon, and I'm just going to smooth out the hot glue so that you can't see it behind that thin grosgrain, and then just glue it in the back. I did one where I crossed the little ribbons in the back, and I really like that look. I think I'm going to make another one like that. Maybe even put a big like coquette bow in the back. My daughter would like that. I glued these on in various places. Can't remember if I sold this little guy or packed him away, as these were all made in the heat of the summer. Of course they were. And just finished off with a few little decorations here. I did glue down the top of the brim, or the bottom of the brim, to the top of the nose, and then here's my little wind-swept winter gnome. I hope you like him. Let me know down in the comments. Also down in the comments, you'll be able to get the treasure gnome pattern. Just hit that link. Thank you so much for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe for more crafty fun.